The desert doesn't whisper its secrets. It buries them beneath endless dunes, where even the stars seem to turn away. On September 17th, 1994, in the ghostly pre-dawn hours, Martin Owens, a 41-year-old trucker with 2 decades of grit etched into his hands, steered his blue Peterbilt along Nevada's Interstate 50, a ribbon of asphalt dubbed the loneliest road in America. The night was clear, the moon a pale sentinel casting silver across the desolate expanse. Owens, a man who cherished the solitude of these midnight runs, had no inkling that this journey would unravel into a nightmare that would haunt the trucking world for decades. Feel the weight of that silence now, as if the road itself is holding its breath, waiting for something to emerge from the shadows. Martin Owens was no stranger to the rhythms of the long haul. For nearly 20 years, he'd shuttled freight between Salt Lake City and Sacramento, his life a symphony of diesel hums and starlit highways. His rig, a refrigerated trailer brimming with produce, was his second home, a sanctuary of worn leather and familiar dials. At 1:15 a.m., he checked in with his dispatcher from a rest stop near Ely, Nevada, his voice steady, betraying no hint of unease. Imagine that moment, a man alone, his breath visible in the chill, the world reduced to the glow of his dashboard and the static of his CB radio. He was on schedule for an 8 a.m. delivery in Sacramento, 400 miles away, the road ahead, promising nothing but the usual quiet. The dispatcher noted his calm, the weather clear, the moon nearly full, bathing the desert in an eerie glow that made the horizon seem both infinite and suffocating. At 2:30 a.m., near the Desatoya Mountains, another trucker, Dale Howell, passed, Owens heading eastbound. The two men, casual acquaintances bound by the unspoken code of the road, exchanged a flash of headlights, a fleeting nod in the dark. Howell later recalled the moment as unremarkable, Owens' rig gliding west with its lights steady, the refrigerated trailer gleaming under the moonlight. Picture it now, 2 trucks crossing paths, their engines a low growl, the desert swallowing their sound as if jealous of their presence. Howell drove on, unaware that he'd just become a witness to the last normal moment of Martin Owens's life. The night, so deceptively calm, was about to fracture into something incomprehensible. By 3:07 a.m., a lone traffic camera captured Owens' Peterbilt 45 miles west of where Howell had seen him. The grainy footage showed the truck moving at a steady clip, its lights piercing the darkness, no sign of trouble. Let that image sink in. A solitary truck, a speck against the vast desert, unaware it's being watched, not just by a camera, but by something else, something relentless. This was the final confirmed sighting of Martin Owens, a frozen frame that would later be dissected by investigators desperate for answers. 36 minutes later, at 3:43 a.m., the first cracks in the night's silence appeared. Truckers tuned. To CB Channel 19 heard Owens' voice sharp with agitation, slicing through the static. "They're riding my bumper," he said, his words taut with fear. "Can't see anything but those damn lights. Whoever you are, back off." Feel the chill of those words, as if the headlights are boring into your own eyes, blinding, unyielding. The truckers listening urged Owens to pull over at the next rest area, 12 miles ahead. He agreed, his voice steadying for a moment as if clinging to the hope of safety. But 3 minutes later, at 3:46 a.m., another transmission shattered that hope. "They're trying to run me off the road," Owens shouted, his voice raw with panic. "Oh God, they're coming alongside me now." The line went dead, swallowed by a silence more terrifying than any scream. Close your eyes and hear that cutoff, the abrupt void where a man's life once was. 2 truckers, roughly 30 miles behind, reported seeing distant headlights swerve violently off the road, followed by a fleeting flash of light, perhaps an explosion. perhaps something else. When they reached the spot 15 minutes later, the desert offered nothing. No skid marks, no debris, no trace of a 70,000-pound rig. Imagine standing there, the wind carrying only the scent of dust, as if the earth itself conspired to erase Martin Owens. When Owens failed to check in or arrive in Sacramento, his company sounded the alarm. The Nevada Highway Patrol launched a massive search, retracing his route under the relentless sun. Helicopters scoured the desert, their blades a futile protest against the vastness below. Search parties combed the terrain, expecting to find wreckage, but the road was pristine, as if Owens had driven into a void. Feel the weight of that absence, a man and his machine swallowed whole by a landscape that doesn't care. 2 days later, a faint clue emerged. Tire tracks veering off the highway onto a seldom-used maintenance road. They stretched for 7 miles before stopping abruptly in a flat expanse of desert, as if the truck had been lifted into the sky. No trailer, no cargo, no Martin Owens. Let that sink in. A trail that ends in nothing. A puzzle with no edges. The investigation deepened, with law enforcement grasping at every theory. Hijacking? Owens had no enemies, no debts. Insurance scam? His life was stable. His family, a wife, 3 children, a new grandchild. His anchor. Faked disappearance? The man was content, his logbook meticulous, his check-ins precise. Picture the detectives, their desks buried in maps, staring at the same empty answers. 3 weeks later, a hiker found Owens's wallet 30 miles north of the tire tracks. Its contents: driver's license, credit cards, $236 in cash, untouched. Robbery was ruled out, but the discovery only thickened the mystery. 2 months later, a road crew stumbled upon his CB radio, battered but recognizable in a dry creek bed 15 miles from the highway. Forensic analysis revealed fingerprints that matched no known database, as if the hands that touched it belonged to ghosts. Feel the unease creeping in, the sense that something, or someone, is playing a game with no rules. Other truckers began to speak, their stories weaving a tapestry of dread along Interstate 50. Several reported being tailed by vehicles with blinding headlights in the weeks before and after Owens' disappearance. One driver described an unmarked white van forcing him onto the shoulder, only to vanish when another truck approached. Another saw a similar van lurking at rest stops, its lights off, its presence a silent threat. Imagine driving that road now, your mirrors reflecting only darkness, yet feeling eyes on you, unblinking. In January 1995, a flicker of hope emerged when Reno police arrested 3 men tied to cargo thefts. One suspect mentioned a trucker job that went bad out on 50, but clammed up when pressed, demanding a lawyer. Before charges could be filed, he was found dead in his cell, an apparent suicide. The lead dissolved, leaving investigators with more shadows than answers. Years passed, and Owens's case became a legend, studied by Nevada state troopers and dissected in true crime circles. In 2006, a hiker found a partial VIN plate, believed to be from Owens's truck, in an abandoned mining site 35 miles north of his last known location. The site, reachable only by rugged dirt roads, raised impossible questions. How could a tractor trailer be moved there unseen? Why go to such lengths to hide it? Let your mind wrestle with that, the image of a truck entombed in a place no one was meant to find. In 2012, a retired waitress from eastern Nevada came forward with a Polaroid left at her diner days after Owens vanished. The blurry image showed a blue Peterbilt inside a vast structure, a hangar, perhaps a warehouse. Its license plate deliberately obscured. Forensic experts could neither confirm nor deny its identity, but the photo lingered like a taunt from the unknown. Martin Owens's family never stopped searching for truth. His wife, until her death in 2017, fought for better safety measures. GPS, tracking, emergency alerts. Her voice a beacon in the dark. Each year on September 17th, truckers drive a silent convoy along Interstate 50, their horns muted past the point where Owens was last seen. Feel the weight of that tribute, a procession of steel and sorrow under the same stars that watched him disappear. The case remains open, a wound in the heart of the trucking community. Some believe Owens fell victim to a ruthless cargo theft ring, a job gone horribly wrong. Others whisper he saw something forbidden in the desert, smuggling perhaps, or worse, and was silenced. What do you think as you sit in the quiet of your own space, the darkness pressing against your windows? The horror of Martin Owens's disappearance lies not in blood or screams, but in the void it left behind. How does a man, a truck, an entire life vanish from a highway under a watching moon? Who drove the vehicle with those searing headlights, and why did they hunt him through the night? Let these questions anchor you, pulling you deeper into the mystery. For truckers who still brave Interstate 50 after midnight, the road is no longer just lonely. It's alive with the echo of Owens' final words, a warning carried on the wind. Many refuse to drive alone, clustering in convoys, their radios crackling with vigilance. The desert keeps its secrets, vast and silent, but for those who listen, it hums with a truth too terrible to name. A truth that Martin Owens may have taken to a grave no one will ever find. You're parked in the middle of nowhere, the engine's hum fading into silence. The desert night presses against your windows, thick and unyielding. Then, a soft knock on your door. Faint, deliberate. Your heart stumbles. Who's out there in this forsaken place where even the stars seem to hide? On a rain-drenched Tuesday in October 1998, Thomas Malone, a 38-year-old trucker from Bakersfield, California, eased his red Kenworth into the Cactus Creek rest area along Highway 91 in southern Utah. The chrome trim on his rig caught the flicker of a lone sodium lamp, casting jagged reflections across the wet asphalt. At 11:37 p.m., a security camera's grainy eye recorded his truck, its headlights dimming as the engine sighed to a stop. By morning, the driver's door hung slightly open, rain pooling on the seat. The engine was cold, the cab empty. Thomas Malone had vanished, as if the desert had reached out with invisible hands and pulled him into its depths. Inside, his logbook lay open, entries scrawled in precise blue ink, a testament to a life of order. A half-drunk coffee sat in the cup holder, its surface still, no longer warm. His wallet rested on the passenger seat, $174 in crisp bills untouched, his driver's license staring blankly from its sleeve. No blood stained the floor. No signs of a struggle marred the cab. The SA Max stretched beyond the rest area, its rocky expanse lit by a pale dawn, offering no footprints, no whispers, no clues. Imagine standing in that cab, the air heavy with the scent of rain and diesel, knowing someone was there, watching, waiting. Malone was no reckless rookie. In 15 years of long-haul driving, he'd never missed a deadline. His dispatcher called him clockwork, a man who'd phone in if he was 10 minutes late, his voice steady over the crackle of the CB. That night, the radio stayed silent. The desert, vast and indifferent, held its secrets tight, and Malone's disappearance became a ghost story whispered among truckers along Highway 91. What would you do, alone in that rig, when the world outside feels alive with something you can't see? The local sheriff's department descended on Cactus Creek, their boots crunching through the gravel, flashlights slicing through the pre-dawn mist. Search dogs sniffed the barren ground, their noses low, but found no scent to follow. Volunteers scoured the jagged landscape, where cacti stood like silent sentinels, their spines glinting in the rising sun. Not a footprint pressed the earth, not a scrap of clothing snagged on a thorn, not a single trace of Thomas Malone. Picture the OSA, Mac as a living thing, its silence mocking, its vastness swallowing every hope of answers. Malone's reliability was his hallmark, a man who lived by the rhythm of the road. His dispatcher, a gruff woman named Ellen, swore he'd never walk away from his rig. He'd call if he was stuck in a ditch, she told deputies, her voice cracking. Something took him. The investigation stalled, the case a puzzle with no edges, its pieces scattered across the endless dunes. Truckers passing through Cactus Creek began to avoid it, their CBs buzzing with warnings. Don't stop there after dark. Something's not right. The desert, with its cold winds and starless nights, seemed to agree, its silence louder than any scream. Malone's disappearance might have faded into the lore of the road, a cautionary tale for rookies, but the desert wasn't finished. It was hungry for more. Now, step into the boots of Darlene Wilcox, a woman who knew the dangers of the road better than most. On December 9, 1998, Wilcox, a 42-year-old trucker, guided her blue Peterbilt into Cactus Creek just past midnight. The rest area was a pool of shadow, its single lamp buzzing faintly, casting a sickly yellow glow. Wilcox was one of the few women on the western routes, her presence a rarity in a world of grizzled men and endless highways. She was no stranger to caution, her friends said, her eyes always scanning the lot, her hand never far from the lock. Feel the weight of her vigilance, the way every sound, a gust of wind, a distant coyote, set her nerves alight. She developed a ritual. Call her sister Jean at every stop, her voice a tether to the world beyond the road. At 12:08 a.m. she dialed, her tone weary but firm. I'm at Cactus Creek, she said, her breath fogging in the cold cab. 4 hours of sleep, then I'm rolling at dawn. She paused, her eyes catching a dark sedan parked at the lot's far edge, its interior light glowing like a predator's. Just one other vehicle here, she added, her voice tightening. Looks empty, but the light's on. Jean urged her to be careful, and Wilcox laughed, a dry sound. Always am, she said. By 6:30 a.m., Jean's phone didn't ring. Panic clawed at her chest as she called the trucking company, who alerted Utah Highway Patrol. A trooper rolled into Cactus Creek by 7:15, his cruiser's lights cutting through the morning haze. Wilcox's Peterbilt stood where she'd parked it, its blue paint dulled by dust. Her logbook was open, a final entry at 12:15 a.m. Cactus Creek, rest till 400. Her purse was locked in its compartment, her bunk faintly creased as if she'd sat but never slept. Stand there, staring at that empty cab, and feel the desert's gaze, heavy, unblinking. Then came the footage. A black and white nightmare etched in static. At 2:17 a.m., a figure emerged from the shadows. Average height, dark clothes, a cap, pulled low. He moved with purpose, his steps silent on the wet gravel, and knocked on Wilcox's door, a soft tap that echoed in the stillness. The door opened, a sliver of light spilling out, a brief exchange, words lost to the camera's mute stare. And then Wilcox stepped down, her silhouette merging with his as they walked off frame, into the void. Neither returned. The sedan was gone by dawn, its license plate a phantom, its presence a wound in the night. Feel your pulse quicken as the truth sinks in. This isn't chance. Something is hunting. Two truckers, seasoned and cautious, erased from the same forsaken rest area. The FBI swept in, their suits stark against the desert's grays, declaring it a serial abduction. Trucking channels crackled with fear, drivers shunning Cactus Creek, some refusing Highway 91's 60-mile stretch altogether. "It's cursed," one veteran growled over the CB, his voice low. "Something's out there picking us off." In March 1999, a road crew clearing flood debris 30 miles southwest stumbled on a leather wallet, its edges frayed, wedged in a dry wash. Inside, Thomas Malone's driver's license stared back, his photo faded but unmistakable. The discovery lit a fire under the investigation, search teams fanning out across the rugged terrain. They found more, a woman's work boot, scuffed and weathered, matching Wilcox's brand. Then, buried in the sand, a notebook, its pages brittle, its contents a nightmare. Names inked in precise script. Malone, Wilcox, and 3 others crossed, out with deliberate strokes. Hold that notebook, feel its weight, the lives it stole, the cold intent behind each line. Investigators raced to trace the names. Jordan Hayes and Miguel Sanchez, truckers missing since 1997 from Arizona and New Mexico, their cases unlinked until this moment. The third name, Franklin Weber, was a shock. Weber, 52, wasn't missing. Contacted by police, he recounted a night in July 1997 at Cactus Creek, his voice trembling. A man had approached his rig, claiming car trouble, his voice smooth, almost scholarly. Something in his eyes, his 2 formal words, set Weber's nerves on edge. "I'll add you to the collection," the man hissed when Weber refused to open his door, vanishing as another truck's headlights pierced the dark. Weber's description matched the figure in Wilcox's footage. Average build, dark cap, an educated accent that felt wrong in the desert's wild heart. Now descend into the mind of a predator, where every step is a calculation, every victim a piece in a sickening puzzle. Undercover operations blanketed Highway 91's rest areas, officers posing as truckers, their radios crackling in the night. Months passed, the predator silent, as if he'd sensed the trap. Then in January 2000, a hiker exploring an abandoned mine shaft 15 miles from Cactus Creek froze, his flashlight trembling. Step into that shaft, the air thick with damp and decay, the walls closing in. Human remains lay scattered, bones bleached. By time later confirmed as Malone's. He hadn't died quickly. Starvation, the coroner whispered after weeks of systematic trauma. The search widened, uncovering more mines, relics of Utah's forgotten gold rush. Crude cells carved from stone held relics. Wilcox's scarf, Sanchez's cap. Deepest of all was a chamber that stopped investigators cold, a trophy room. Logbooks, keys, watches lined makeshift shelves, each item a stolen life. Walls were plastered with photos, grainy surveillance shots of truckers at rest stops, some laughing, unaware of the lens. Others showed victims before their abductions, their faces frozen in mundane moments. A journal, its pages filled with clinical prose numbered victims, Subject 1, Subject 2, detailing their fear, their breaking points, their fading hope. Read those words, feel the chill of a mind that saw humans as experiments, their pain as data. The author, a ghost, left no trace of himself, the evidence degraded by time and the desert's harsh breath. 2 years dragged on, the case a wound that wouldn't heal. In 2002, a routine traffic stop in Cedar City, Utah, changed everything. Edward Crane, 45, a former psychology professor, sat calm as officers searched his car, his eyes unreadable. Fake IDs, a police scanner, maps of remote rest areas. Then, in his home, a hidden room. Stand in that room, its walls pulsing with madness, its relics screaming of lives lost. Photos matched the mine shafts. Items belonged to unknown victims. Journals continued the cold observations. Crane showed no remorse. "They were perfect subjects," he said, his voice flat, academic. "Isolated, self-sufficient, used to pain. I wanted to see how long they'd hold on to hope. Fired from his university in 1996 for unethical research proposals, Crane had turned the highways into his laboratory, luring truckers with tales of breakdowns or emergencies, incapacitating them with a stun gun, then dragging them to his mines. In April 2002, he was convicted of 4 kidnappings and murders, sentenced to life without parole. Authorities suspect more victims, their disappearances masked by the transient life of long-haul trucking. Drive Highway 91 at midnight, the stars your only witnesses, and feel Cactus Creek's shadow. A memorial stands there now, a stone etched with the names of Malone, Wilcox, Hayes, Sanchez, and others unknown. Truckers call it Dead Man's Curve, not for the road's twist, but for the predator who hunted there. Better lighting, cameras, and panic buttons guard rest areas. But the fear lingers. Crane's cruelty was his genius, exploiting the trust truckers' share, their instinct to help a stranger in the night. When you park at a rest stop, will you answer a knock, or will you hear Crane's voice, promising to add you to his collection? The desert watches silent, its secrets buried deep, waiting for the next story it will never tell. The shadows between the trucks don't move on their own, but on March 12, 2005, they had eyes. Ray Simmons, a 47-year-old trucker with 23 years of asphalt etched into his calloused hands, eased his white Freightliner into the Blue Mountain Plaza, off Route 219 in rural Pennsylvania. The night was crisp, the Appalachian air thick with pine, diesel, and the faint tang of frost. After 14 hours hauling machine parts toward Buffalo, Ray's bones ached for the solace of a hot meal and the familiar creak of his sleeper berth. Feel the weight of his exhaustion now, the kind that dulls the world, making silence feel heavier than it should. For 100 miles, unseen eyes had tracked his rig, a predator cloaked in the mundane, its intent coiled like a spring in the dark. Ray wasn't just a trucker. He was a man who carried the road in his soul. Born in a small Pennsylvania town, he'd watched rigs roll through as a boy, their horns a siren song of freedom. See him then, eyes wide, dreaming of the horizon. Married to Linda, his high school sweetheart, Ray was a father to 2 daughters, their photos taped to his dash, their laughter his anchor. Feel the warmth of those photos, faded but cherished. His colleagues admired his calm, his knack for navigating icy passes or calming a rookie's nerves over CB. Ray loved Route 219's rolling hills, a canvas for his thoughts. Drive with him now, the radio soft, the night a companion, until it wasn't. The Blue Mountain Plaza was a trucker's haven, unremarkable yet vital. Its neon-lit diner dished out greasy meatloaf and strong coffee. The fuel pumps thrummed, and the shower stalls offered reprieve from the road's grime. Ray's routine was a ritual: fuel up, eat, check in, rest. At 9:42 p.m., the diner's grainy. Camera caught him stepping into the night, a styrofoam container of meatloaf in hand, his boots crunching gravel under sodium lights. Picture that moment. A man framed by light, his breath fogging, oblivious to the darkness reaching. As he crossed to his truck, parked where rigs stood like sentinels, the camera lost him in a blind spot, a shadow between trailers where the world unraveled. Ray Simmons vanished, as if the night claimed him. Morning broke, and Ray's absence rippled through his world. His dispatcher, Catherine Morris, who'd known him for a decade, felt dread when he missed his check-in. Ray was military precise, his schedule a metronome. When his GPS showed the Freightliner hadn't moved for 12 hours, Catherine alerted police. Officers found the truck locked, its cab a snapshot of his final moments. The logbook lay open, his 9:30 p.m. arrival scrawled. His overnight bag sat untouched, and the styrofoam container held cold meatloaf. Let that image sear into your mind. A meal abandoned, a life severed. No blood, no struggle, No Ray. What force could pluck a man from his sanctuary? 3 days later, a Department of Transportation worker found Ray's wallet in a ditch 7 miles north. Inside were cash, credit cards, and a Polaroid, its edges worn as if caressed. The photo showed Ray, unconscious, face pale, hands bound with zip ties. Feel the chill of that image, its silent scream echoing. The FBI swept in, their interstate crime unit poring over footage. They spotted a dark SUV circling the lot twice after Ray's arrival, parking at the camera's edge, its driver a ghost. 40 minutes later, the SUV was gone. Imagine those headlights fading, carrying a secret too heavy. The case teetered until March 25th, when Elaine Corbett, a 39-year-old trucker, rolled into the plaza at 10:30 p.m. Like Ray, she was a veteran, her safety record unblemished. Unlike Ray, Elaine photographed her rig at every stop, a ritual from a past hit and run. Her camera caught a flicker beneath a trailer. Hold your breath now, as the lens trapped something wrong. She thought it was a dog, but saw a man crawling, his dark clothing merging with shadows, a telescoping rod with a wire loop glinting. See that tool? Its metal promising control. Elaine bolted to her cab, locked the doors, and dialed 911. Police arrived 17 minutes later, but the figure was gone. Elaine's photos burned with truth. A man in his 30s or 40s, tactical gloves, intent unmistakable. The manhunt consumed spring 2005. Elaine's photos were plastered across truck stops, their clarity a jolt to drivers sensing danger. Look at that image, his eyes glinting as if he knows you're watching. The FBI's sketch haunted CB chatter. Truckers swapping near misses, a gloved man in Ohio, a van in Maryland. Feel the web of those stories, pulling you to the truth. Tips led nowhere, the blind spot mocking efforts. Feel the frustration, something watching beyond reach. Detectives retraced Ray's hours, interviewing diner staff who recalled his smile, his meatloaf order. Catherine, voice-breaking, shared his last call, weary but warm. Hear his voice, a man who loved the road, betrayed. On May 3rd, a trooper responded to a crash 30 miles away. Howard Keegan, 42, had veered off, his van mangled. Inside were zip ties, a catch pole, syringes with sedative, and Ray's ID badge in a toolbox. Step closer, its contents a map to madness. 47 Polaroids showed truckers, faces vacant. See their eyes, pleading for rescue. The van's interior matched one photo, its fibers clinging to Ray's DNA. A dairy farm, owned by Keegan's late uncle, held a milk house, a concrete cell with a bolted bed, restraint points, a drain. Walk into that room, its walls pressing, air thick with dread. Forensic teams found Ray's DNA, notebooks detailing trucker routes, habits. Read those pages, each word a step to Ray's end. Keegan's past emerged, a former trucker, plaza janitor, dismissed for pacing lots at night. Imagine him, a shadow learning his prey. His online posts dissected killers, boasting precision. They got sloppy. I won't. Read his words, nails in Ray's coffin. The crash left him mute, his eyes empty or defiant. Stare into them, finding only voids. Notebooks listed, Driver 17, Ray Simmons alone. Read those names. Lives stolen. 5 bodies lay in a pine grove, but more were feared lost. Keegan's computer planned strikes across borders, his blind spot expanding. Keegan died in October 2006, a sharpened utensil ending his silence. Feel the void, a wound unhealed. The trucking world reeled, solitude a liability. Feel the air shift, the road a gauntlet. Truck stops added lights, cameras, patrols, companies issued panic buttons. Elaine spoke at seminars, her camera defying shadows. See her, voice steady, teaching blind spots. Female truckers formed networks, their CBs a chorus. Convoys rolled, the buddy system a creed. Hear those radios, weaving a net. Ray's family bore the loss. Linda advocated for safety, her voice steady despite tears. Hear her, pleading for Ray's legacy. Their daughters wore his flannels, their scent fading. Touch that fabric, holding Ray close. The Ray Simmons Memorial Fund funded Dashcam's guards. Imagine those guards honoring Ray. Each March 12th, horns hum, a convoy binding truckers. The plaza's marker etched with, "The road is long, but they are not forgotten," is a pilgrimage, coins and notes left behind. Touch that stone, warm, yet cold. Drivers shun the lot's far end, whispering blind spot. What's in your shadows unseen? Keegan's catch pole, Polaroids, silence haunt the highways. A warning, safety is fragile. Close your eyes, hear gravel crunch, feel eyes on your back. For Route 219's drivers, the plaza is a monument, its blind spot a scar. The road's danger isn't weather, but the predator who knows your routine, waiting in the blind spot, relentless. The wind howls, a living thing clawing at your rig. Then, through the blizzard, a flashing light pierces the dark, red and blue promising safety. But what if the hand behind that light isn't here to save you? What if it's here to take you? On November 18, 2008, Victor Reese, a 53-year-old trucker from Spokane, guided his white Kenworth T680 through the twisting roads of Montana's Bitterroot Range. Highway 472, a narrow ribbon cutting through Deadfall Canyon, was his chosen route to Missoula, hauling industrial refrigeration equipment. An early winter storm had begun its assault, heavy snow blanketing the pines, the air thick with ice. At 4:17 a.m., Reese's voice crackled over the CB radio, steady despite the worsening conditions. "Visibility's down to 50 yards, he told his dispatcher, his breath fogging in the cold cab. "Chains are on, though. I'm making time. Should clear the canyon before the worst hits." Those were his last words to the world. For the next 72 hours, Victor Reese vanished, swallowed by the storm and something far darker, in one of the most chilling episodes in American trucking history. Imagine yourself in his seat, the dashboard glowing faintly, the world outside erased by snow, unaware that something is watching, waiting. Reese was no stranger to Montana's brutal winters. His logbook, meticulous as always, showed a career built on caution and grit. But as noon passed in Missoula with no sign of his delivery, Northwestern Logistics grew uneasy. Radio calls went unanswered, his cell phone silent. The truck's GPS, a lifeline in the mountains, froze at 5:30 a.m., pinning his Kenworth in Deadfall Canyon, a steep-walled ravine where cell signals died and winter turned roads to glass. Feel the weight of that silence, the dispatcher's voice fading into static, the realization that something's gone terribly wrong. By 3:05 p.m., with the GPS unchanged for 9 hours, the company alerted Montana Highway Patrol. The storm's ferocity delayed the response, snow piling high, visibility near zero. A patrol unit tried to reach the canyon but was forced back, the roads too treacherous. Search efforts paused until dawn, leaving Reese's fate to the merciless night. When the storm cleared, rescue teams approached from both ends of Highway 472. At 11:23 a.m. they found his truck, parked in a small turnout halfway through the canyon, its white paint nearly invisible against the snow. The engine was off, doors locked, cab empty. Stand there, in the biting cold, staring at that rig, and feel the canyon's gaze, heavy, unyielding. Inside, the cab told a story of sudden departure. Reese's logbook lay open on the dash, its last entry scrawled at 5:15 a.m. Poor visibility. Waiting out storm. His wallet holding 237 and credit cards sat in the center console. His insulated jacket hung on the driver's seat, untouched despite the sub-zero chill. His cell phone, plugged into the charger, blinked with missed calls from his employer and wife. A half-eaten breakfast sandwich lay on the floor. A thermos of coffee spilled across the passenger seat, its lid loose, as if Reese had bolted mid-bite. No blood stained the upholstery. No signs of struggle marked the cab. Picture the scene, the coffee's bitter scent mixing with the cold, the silence, screaming of absence. Outside, boot prints pressed deep into the snow, leading from the driver's door to the turnout's edge, where a guardrail overlooked a wooded slope. At the rail, the prints stopped, as if Reese had stepped into the air itself. Cadaver dogs scoured the canyon below, their noses low, but found no trace. The mountain, cloaked in snow, kept its secrets, and the mystery deepened. What would you do, alone in that storm, when a knock on your door promises help but smells of danger? As news of Reese's disappearance spread, the trucking community buzzed with fear. Then, a lead emerged from an unexpected source. Janet Howell, a 45-year-old trucker from Idaho, saw a report on Reese and contacted authorities. She'd been on Highway 472 that night, driving the opposite direction, stopping at the same turnout around 5 a.m. to secure a shifting load. Step into her boots, the snow stinging your face, the wind a relentless scream. As she wrestled with the straps, headlights pierced the blizzard, a truck pulling in behind her. It was a relief, she told investigators, her voice tight. That road's lonely, especially in a storm. She assumed it was another driver, maybe Reese, seeking shelter. But as she climbed back into her cab, a smaller vehicle, an SUV, she thought, rolled in, its roof flashing red and blue through the snow. I figured it was patrol or maintenance, she said. Didn't think much of it. The storm was getting worse and I needed to move. Howell drove off, unaware she'd witnessed the last moments of Victor Reese's freedom. Her timeline matched the GPS data, but her account raised a chilling question. No official vehicles had been in Deadfall Canyon that morning. Feel your heart race as the truth dawns. The flashing lights weren't salvation. They were a trap. 3 days later, a Montana Fish and Wildlife officer patrolling a remote access road 12 miles from the canyon spotted an abandoned SUV, half hidden among pines. The black Ford Explorer was sterile, its surfaces wiped clean, license plates gone. Imagine opening that cargo door, the air thick with dread. Inside, technicians found a dashboard light bar, the kind used by unmarked police cars, and a police band radio scanner, its dials still warm. In the rear, a nightmare unfolded. Zip ties, duct tape, a stun gun, and traces of blood, later matched to Reese through DNA. The missing person case became an abduction, the canyon's silence now a scream of foul play. Who would stalk a trucker in a blizzard, and why? The answer came 2 weeks later in Wyoming. Leland Gaines, 37, was arrested for impersonating a police officer after trying to pull over an off-duty deputy. His white SUV bristled with hidden emergency lights, a mirror of the canyon's phantom. Stand in his apartment, surrounded by his obsession, and feel the walls close in. A search revealed police scanners, replica badges, and a collection of trucker CB radios, their antennas tangled like spiderwebs. On his laptop, folders labeled routes and drivers held a predator's playbook, maps of remote highways, notes on cell dead zones, and surveillance photos of truckers, including Victor Reese, his routes and schedules meticulously tracked. Gaines, a former security guard, had been rejected by police departments, his psychological evaluations flagging an unhealthy fixation. Neighbors called him a shadow, always in tactical gear, his vehicles mimicking unmarked cruisers. Picture his eyes cold and unblinking as he planned his hunt. Confronted with evidence, cell tower data placing him in Deadfall Canyon, blood in his SUV, Gaines cracked. "They always open the door," he said, his voice flat, recorded in bite. A sterile interview room. When they think you're a cop, they don't question it. They're wired to trust. He'd honed his method, listening to CB chatter for stranded truckers, using scanners to track patrol gaps. In Reese's case, he'd overheard the 4:17 a.m. call, tailing the Kenworth through the storm. When Reese stopped, Gaines approached, lights flashing, uniform crisp, claiming to check on stranded motorists. Reese, trusting, opened his door. The stun gun dropped him, and Gaines dragged him to the SUV. Howell's presence had been a hitch, but Gaines nodded calmly as she left. His facade unbroken. Feel the betrayal. The moment trust turns to terror. Gaines took Reese to an abandoned hunting cabin in the Bitterroot Wilderness, a place so remote only four-wheel drives could reach it. Forensic evidence later showed Reese was held for 38 hours, bound and cold. He tried to escape when Gaines stepped outside, staggering less than a mile before collapsing in the snow, weakened by injuries and exposure. His remains, found after Gaines's plea deal, ended his family's torment, but not their grief. The investigation widened, linking Gaines to 3 other truckers missing since 2006 in Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho. Each case mirrored Reese's. Drivers vanished in bad weather, their trucks abandoned, no clues. In July 2009, Gaines pleaded guilty to 4 kidnappings and murders, sentenced to life without parole. The judge called his crimes predatory in the most calculating sense, a predator who thrived on isolation. Drive that canyon now, the snow falling soft, and feel his shadow lingering. The Deadfall Canyon case reshaped trucking safety. Companies installed GPS systems that flagged unusual stops, mandated check-in calls in remote areas, and fitted trucks with dash cams that triggered, on approach, a nationwide advisory urged drivers to verify anyone claiming to be law enforcement, birthing the Trust But Verify protocol. Call dispatch before opening your door. A memorial plaque stands at the canyon's turnout, etched with Reese's eye, name and his fellow victims. Truckers pause there, leaving coins or keychains, a silent nod to a brother lost. When you see flashing lights in the dark, will you trust them? Or will you hear Gaines's voice, calm and deadly? Janet Howell, whose chance sighting cracked the case, spoke years later, her voice heavy. "We're the most visible invisible people," she said. "Everyone sees our trucks, but no one sees us, alone, in the middle of nowhere, just doing our job." The canyon, with its towering pines and endless snow, watches still, its secrets buried deep, waiting for the next story it won't tell. The desert doesn't sing lullabies, it hums a dirge, and on July 8, 2011, it called for Darren Wilkins. Under a moonless sky, the 36-year-old trucker guided his blue Peterbilt into the Ocado rest area along Interstate 10, 80 miles east of Tucson, Arizona. The night was still, the air heavy with the scent of creosote and warm asphalt. After 11 hours hauling refrigerated produce from California to Texas, Darren's eyes burned, his body craving the quiet of his sleeper berth. Feel the weight of his fatigue now, the kind that blurs the stars, making the world feel too vast, too empty. The Ocado rest area, with its sprawling lot and distant hum of the highway, was his sanctuary, a place he'd stopped dozens of times, safe, familiar. But tonight, something waited in the shadows, its breath as silent as the cacti watching from the dunes. Step into that darkness now, where safety is a lie. Darren Wilkins was a man of the road, his life a tapestry of mile markers and CB chatter. Raised in a dusty Texas town, He'd traded a desk job for the freedom of the highway. His Peterbilt a second home. See him as a young man, grinning at his first rig, the keys heavy with promise. Married to Sarah, with a son who drew trucks and crayons, Darren carried their love in a photo tucked in his visor. Feel the warmth of that photo, its edges soft from touch. His routine was ironclad. Log his hours, check his cargo, rest at Trusted, stops like Ocado. At 11:42 p.m., his logbook noted his arrival, his departure set for dawn. Picture him now stretching under the stars, unaware that the night has teeth. He climbed into his cab, the door locking with a reassuring thud, the world outside fading as sleep beckoned. But the desert had other plans. By 6:17 a.m., Darren's silence screamed louder than any alarm. His dispatcher, rattled by his missed check-in, called his cell, each unanswered ring tightening the knot in her chest. When no response came, Arizona Highway Patrol was summoned. Trooper Miguel Sanchez arrived at Ocado at 7:45 a.m., his boots stirring dust as he approached the Peterbilt, parked alone in the lot's far corner. Through the window, he saw Darren slumped in the driver's seat, his head tilted at an unnatural angle. Let that image freeze in your mind, a man still, too still against the dawn's pale light. Sanchez shattered the window, the glass raining like tears, only to find a scene that chilled his blood. Darren had been strangled with a thin wire garrote, his face frozen in a final gasp. His wallet, with $156, sat untouched. Feel the violation. Of that cab, a sanctuary defiled. In his right hand, clutched tight, was a yellow plastic whistle, the kind sold in toy stores. His family swore it wasn't his. See that whistle? Its cheerful color a mockery of death. The murder might have faded into Arizona's archives, a lone tragedy on a lonely road, but 3 weeks later, on July 29, 2011, the nightmare repeated. At the Lordsburg Rest Area, 150 miles east in New Mexico, Elena Vasquez, a 42-year-old trucker, was found dead in her sleeper berth. Like Darren, she'd been strangled with wire, her belongings untouched. Like Darren, a blue plastic whistle lay in her hand, a grotesque signature. Hold that whistle in your mind, its hue shifting from yellow to blue. A killer's palette. Elena, a mother of 3, was known for her caution, her CB always crackling with check-ins. Hear her voice, warm, now silenced. The similarities were undeniable, and whispers of a serial killer spread like wildfire along Interstate 10. Detectives dug deeper, their search unearthing a third victim. In December 2010, Peter Krause, 51, was found dead in his truck west of El Paso, Texas. His death logged as a heart attack, but the autopsy noted neck bruising, and a green whistle lay near his body, dismissed as his own. His widow insisted he owned no such thing. See those whistles? Yellow, blue, green. A trail of taunts across the desert. The task force, now with FBI support, linked 3 murders across 3 states, dubbing the killer the Whistler. Trucking companies issued warnings, urging drivers to avoid lone rest areas at night. Feel the fear rippling through CB channels, a community bracing against an unseen hunter. Forensic analysis offered little. The wire was common picture-hanging cord, the whistles mass-produced, no fingerprints, no DNA. Imagine the frustration, evidence slipping like sand. The breakthrough came from Melissa Torres, a night shift cashier at Roadrunner Truck Plaza in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Weeks before Elena's murder, she'd seen a man in a white panel van with Arizona plates approach, lone truckers, offering security devices to protect their cabs. Picture him, his smile too smooth, his eyes too sharp. Melissa, uneasy, jotted down his plate number, a scrap of paper that would crack the case. That number led to Raymond Mercer, a 47-year-old Tucson loner, a former security installer with a history of petty theft and a drop charge of impersonating a guard. Step into his world now, a man who sees solitude as prey. Surveillance shadowed Mercer's small house, its windows dark, its yard barren. He made regular trips along I-10, lingering at rest areas, watching trucks with a predator's patience. On August 18, 2011, at Picacho Peak Rest Area, he approached a female trucker with a fake alarm device, his pitch polished but hollow. She declined, and he retreated. But that night, at 1 a.m., agents caught him attempting to enter an occupied truck, gloves on, wire in pocket. Feel the tension of that moment, the hunter caught in his own trap. His van was a shrine to his crimes. 3-foot wire lengths, a bag of multicolored whistles, a notebook detailing rest area patrols, and a map marking murder sites with colored dots: yellow for Darren, blue for Elena, green for Peter. See that map? Its dots a constellation of death. In interrogation, Mercer's facade crumbled. Confronted with his van's contents, he spoke, his voice flat, revealing details only the killer knew. The wire's twist, the whistle's placement. Hear his confession, emotionless, as if recounting a recipe. Posing as a security consultant, he'd exploited truckers' caution, luring them with a useless car alarm remote. "Most turn me down," he said, "but some opened the door." Once inside, he struck with the garrote, the whistle's his signature, a cruel nod to their unheard cries. Feel the weight of those whistles, each one a silenced scream. His computer held a document, rest stop protocol, outlining his rules. Target lone drivers, avoid busy truck stops, use a CB scanner to find silent cabs. Read that protocol. It's cold logic, a blueprint for murder. Mercer was linked to 5 more deaths since 2009, mistaken for heart attacks or strokes. The garrote's marks too subtle. See those cabs, each a tomb no one suspected. In March 2012, he pleaded guilty to 8 murders, sentenced to life without parole. Asked for a statement, he said, "They never heard me coming." Let those words chill you, a boast from the void. The trucking world shuddered, its open road now a gauntlet. Companies mandated buddy systems, installed cab alarms. Drivers clustered rigs, kept lights on, their CBs alive with a new sign-off. Keep your doors locked, your whistles ready. Hear those words, a mantra against the dark. Darren's widow, Sarah, spoke at sentencing, her voice breaking. He loved the highway's freedom. This monster stole that from us all. Feel her grief, a wound shared by thousands. A memorial at Ocado bears Darren's name, truckers sounding horns in tribute. The Wilkins warning. Hear those horns, a vow of vigilance. Interstate 10's rest areas changed, panic buttons and patrols guarding the night. The Whistler's legacy is a scar, a reminder that danger hides in safe places. What lurks in your own sanctuaries unseen? For truckers, the road will never feel the same. Its solitude a shadow that hums with Mercer's tune. The road ahead feels like home, every mile a story you've lived 100 times. You trust the highway, the bridges, the world that carries you. But what if that trust is a lie? What if the ground beneath your wheels is waiting to betray you? On February 3, 2011, Michael Kaufman, a 44-year-old trucker from Detroit, sat in his 18-wheeler outside a small diner south of Harbor Springs, Michigan. The air outside bit like a blade, the thermometer reading 15 degrees Celsius. But inside his cab, the heater purred, and the scent of fresh coffee filled the space. His thermos was warm in his hands, steam curling as he sipped, his eyes tracing the snow-dusted parking lot. Highway 37 stretched ahead, a familiar path he'd driven twice a month for a decade, hauling automotive parts to a plant in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. The Harbor Springs Bridge, a concrete and steel colossus spanning the frozen Pine River, loomed in his mind. a landmark as constant as the stars above. At 9:47 p.m., he keyed his CB radio, his voice steady, almost casual. "All systems normal," he told his dispatcher. "Should hit the plant by 2 a.m. He shifted gears, the truck's engine growling to life, and rolled into the night, the diner's neon fading in his mirrors. In 15 minutes, his world would collapse, revealing a betrayal that would scar America's highways forever. Imagine yourself in that cab. The dashboard's glow your only light, the road whispering safety, unaware it's a trap. Kaufman's logbook, later pulled from the wreckage, was a testament to a life of precision. Each entry, scrawled in black ink, marked miles and hours with a trucker's devotion. The night was clear, the Michigan sky a canvas of stars, but the cold was relentless, frosting the windshield's edges. As he neared the Harbor Springs Bridge at 9:52 p.m., his dashcam captured a road that seemed flawless, its surface shimmering under his headlights. Feel the rhythm of the drive, the tires' steady hum, the bridge rising like an old friend. Beneath that shimmer, black ice waited, a silent killer born of moisture and frigid air, invisible to eye or camera. The first hint of danger was a whisper, a faint pull to the right, the rig drifting as if nudged by an unseen hand. Kaufman's grip tightened, his breath sharp as he downshifted, years of instinct kicking in. For 3 seconds, control hung. In his grasp, the truck responding to his deft touch. Then the trailer rebelled, jackknifing with a lurch that twisted his gut. Picture the world tilting, the dash cam's cold stare capturing your struggle, the road slipping from your hands. For 20 agonizing seconds, Kaufman fought, steering into the skid, his training a lifeline against chaos. The truck slid sideways, swallowing both lanes, its tires clawing uselessly at the ice. A flicker of hope, he might save it, flared in his chest. That hope shattered when the trailer struck the bridge's right guardrail, a dull thud that should have held firm. Instead, a 10-foot section of steel collapsed outward, crumbling like cardboard. The trailer's momentum dragged the cab toward the void, the dashcam's feed dying as the truck plunged 70 feet toward the Pine River's icy embrace. Feel the weightless terror, the world falling away, the river rushing to claim you. By every measure, Michael Kaufman should have perished. The cab slammed into the frozen river with bone-crushing force, splintering the ice, coming to rest at a sickening angle, half submerged in the frigid water. The trailer, still tethered, dangled from the shattered bridge, a grotesque silhouette against the starlit sky. Stand on that riverbank, the cold searing your lungs, staring at the wreckage, expecting only death. First responders, summoned by a motorist's desperate call, arrived 17 minutes later, their flashlights cutting through the snow-flecked dark. What they found defied belief. Kaufman was alive, thrown from the cab during the crash, landing 20 feet away on the ice. Fractures webbed his body, ribs, legs, pelvis. Hypothermia clawed at his fading warmth, but his eyes were open, wild with shock. "Something's wrong with that bridge," he rasped to the paramedics, his voice a jagged whisper. "The rail just went." The rescue was a battle against nature itself. The cold numbed their fingers. The trailer swayed above, threatening to fall, and the ice groaned under their weight. Imagine their hands trembling as they strap you to a board, the ice creaking, every moment a gamble with death. With specialized gear, they stabilized Kaufman, hauling him from the river's grip to Harbor Springs Regional Medical Center. Surgeons worked through the night, stemming internal bleeding, piecing together his shattered legs. As Kaufman clung to life in intensive care, investigators turned to the bridge, his words echoing. The rail just went. What they uncovered was a horror deeper than the ice that nearly killed him. The initial probe leaned toward driver error or mechanical fault, standard for trucking wrecks. Kaufman's dash cam, cracked but intact, told a different tale. Its footage, replaying the guardrail's betrayal. Step into the investigator's shoes, the wind howling, the bridge looming like a guilty sentinel. Michigan Department of Transportation engineers descended, their tools probing the wreckage. They found steel eaten by internal corrosion, a cancer hidden from routine glances. The guardrail's anchors, meant to be its backbone, were weakened by botched repairs 5 years earlier, sloppy welds, cheap bolts, a patchwork of neglect. Feel the weight of that discovery, the realization that this wasn't fate. Digging deeper, investigators pulled a decade of accident reports for the harbor. Springs Bridge. A chilling pattern emerged. 6 prior crashes, all in winter, all tied to the guardrails, all brushed off as routine. No deaths, no deep inspections, just quick fixes. Paint slapped over rust, bolts tightened on rotting steel. Picture those reports. Their lies piling like snow, each one a life risked. Michigan State Police widened their net, grilling former maintenance workers. Jacob Merritt, a grizzled supervisor, buckled under questioning, his voice low with guilt. 3 years before he'd sounded alarms about the bridge, his reports detailing corroded anchors, pleading for a full overhaul. Those reports were buried, budget cuts trumping lives. Cosmetic repairs, new paint, surface patches, hid the truth. Worse, official records were doctored, Merritt's urgent warnings rewritten as routine maintenance. Hold those falsified pages. Feel their poison, the lives they endangered for $1 saved. Merritt's boss, Leonard Walsh, regional director, stonewalled at first, his face a mask of denial. But emails cracked his facade, one line searing itself into the case. Make this a next fiscal year problem. Read that email. Feel its cold calculation. The lives it dismissed. The scandal erupted, charges cascading. Official misconduct. Reckless endangerment against 7 officials. Walsh drew 14 months in prison, his name synonymous with greed. The human toll, though, was Kaufman's. 17 surgeries rebuilt his body, but his legs would never carry him as before. A traumatic brain injury stole his clarity, ending his life on the road. Sit with him in that wheelchair, his eyes haunted, his voice cutting through the courtroom. They knew, he told reporters, his words a blade. That bridge was a death trap, and they did nothing. How many more are out there? That's what keeps me awake. His $4.7 million lawsuit against Michigan was a bitter salve, no sum easing the lifelong care he'd need. His question ignited a firestorm, forcing Michigan to audit 372 similar bridges. 47 were flagged for urgent repairs, 9 closed outright, their steel as rotten as harbor springs. The probe spread to the Midwest, unearthing 300 bridges, with flaws masked by lies or neglect. The American Society of Civil Engineers branded it infrastructure fraud, a betrayal carved in rust. Drive those highways now, each bridge a shadow, each mile a question. The trucking community reeled, their trust in the roads shattered. The American Trucking Association forged a whistleblower system, drivers reporting hazards with a fury born of Kaufman's pain. In its first year, 12,000 reports led to 28 emergency closures, bridges and roads deemed unfit for the loads they bore. Truckers shunned old bridges in winter, some refusing routes outright. The highway doesn't whisper promises, it roars challenges. And on August 17, 2018, it burned with fury. Teresa Blackwell, a 39-year-old trucker from Eugene, Oregon, guided her 18-wheeler onto Interstate 5 north of Redding, California, the asphalt shimmering under a merciless summer sun. The air was heavy with dust, pine and the faint tang of heat rising from the earth. Hauling medical supplies to Sacramento, a route etched into her 15-year career, Teresa felt the familiar pulse of her rig, her sanctuary on wheels. Feel the rhythm of her journey now, the hum of tires lulling you into a fragile calm, as if the road could be trusted. But the horizon hid a predator, a smoldering beast coiled in the Shasta Trinity National Forest, ready to swallow the highway whole. Step into that heat now, where the air itself turns traitor. Teresa was a daughter of the road, her life woven from mile markers and starlit nights. Raised in Oregon's timber country, she'd traded a waitressing job for the freedom of trucking, her rig a testament to her grit. See her at 24, climbing into her first cab, her hands steady, eyes alight with dreams of open skies. A single mother to her teenage daughter, Mia, Teresa kept her photo taped to the dash, her smile a lighthouse through endless halls. Feel the warmth of that photo, its edges soft from years of touch. Her routine was a ritual of precision. Inspect her load, log her hours, rest at familiar stops. That morning she'd left Eugene at dawn, the sky a clear canvas, the forecast offering no hint of the hell to come. Drive with her now, the CB humming softly, the world a ribbon of hope. But California's summer of 2018 was a crucible, its forests parched, its winds restless. The Cedar Creek fire smoldering west of I-5 was a spark waiting to ignite her destiny. By noon, the fire's whispers turned to screams. Firefighters, stretched thin by 17 blazes across the state, had misjudged Cedar Creek's hunger, assigning it scant resources as they battled fires in populated zones. Hear the distant crackle of those flames, a predator stalking the hills, its appetite growing. Wind shifts gusting at 50 miles an hour drove the fire from 8,000 to 25,000 acres, outrunning alerts. Teresa, 60 miles from Sacramento, spotted a haze dulling the forest's crisp skyline. "Smoke's not right," she said over the CB, her voice edged with unease. Feel the prickle of her instinct, the road's betrayal dawning. "A trucker's," reply was stark. "Wind's shifting. If that fire hits, we're done." Let those words anchor you, a prophecy etched in ash. At 1:30 p.m., the world unraveled. Teresa's dash cam, a silent chronicler, captured the sky choking with smoke, visibility collapsing to a quarter mile. Embers fell like glowing snow, carried by winds howling at 60 miles an hour. See those embers, flickering like eyes in the dark, each a herald of doom. Traffic froze, brake lights piercing the murk like bloodstains. Highway patrol officers, shadows in the haze, waved vehicles to the shoulders, one shouting through a bullhorn, his voice fraying. Hear his cries, swallowed by the wind's roar. A CB transmission crackled. "Fires jumped the ridge. It's coming for us." Teresa, her voice a steel thread, broadcasted. "Stay calm. Concrete's beneath us. Clearings on both sides. Stay in your rigs." Feel her resolve, a beacon in the chaos. But the fire, dubbed a flame tsunami by scientists, surged faster than hope, a wall of heat and wrath. By 2 p.m. the fire front struck. Teresa's dash cam showed visibility vanish, smoke shrouding her rig like a grave. Orange flashes stabbed the darkness, trees erupting into flame along the highway. Smell the burning pine, acrid, choking your lungs. The cab's temperature soared from 92 to 120 degrees, the air a furnace. Feel the heat clawing your skin, unyielding, merciless. For 45 minutes, Teresa and 60 stranded travelers faced a nightmare, their vehicles frail shells against nature's rage. Imagine their terror, hearts hammering, the world reduced to smoke and fire. Teresa's training, honed by years of hazard, drills surged to life. She broadcasted, Shut engines off. Fire eats oxygen. Save batteries, seal vents, dampen cloths, cover faces. Hear her commands, a lifeline threading through despair. She took stock. 2 gallons of water, a hazmat, breathing mask, a stack of towels. See her hands, steady despite the heat, sealing the cab with damp cloth. She stuffed towels into gaps, crafting filters against toxic smoke. Ahead, a minivan's windows revealed panicked children, their faces pressed to glass. Teresa honked, holding a cardboard sign scrawled with marker, "Stay in vehicle, wet clothes, cover faces." Feel their eyes locking on her, clinging to her calm. At 2:23 p.m., a Douglas fir, its trunk ablaze, crashed across the highway, crushing a car 50 feet ahead. Hear the wood splinter, a thunderclap of fate. Without pause, Teresa grabbed her emergency kit and stepped into the inferno, her dash cam capturing her silhouette against a curtain of flame. Walk with her now, the heat a living beast, the air a poison. The car's driver's side was a twisted ruin, but Teresa circled to the passenger door, wrenching it open after desperate tugs. Inside, Martin Delaney, a 68-year-old retired teacher, lay unconscious, blood matting his hair. See his face pale, a life teetering in her grasp. Half dragging him through smoke, Teresa stumbled back to her cab, her skin blistering, her lungs screaming. Feel her fight, each step a defiance of death. Inside, she radioed, "Injured male, 70, unconscious, head laceration. Mile marker 752. Need a vac now." Hear her voice, steady through pain. A trucker a quarter mile away answered, "No way in or out. Fire's blocking everything." For 30 minutes, Teresa tended Delaney, pouring water to cool them, her cab hitting 140 degrees. Feel the sweat, the desperation, her will to save unbroken. The rescue was a miracle carved from chaos. At 3:10 p.m., the fire front passed, leaving a blackened wasteland. See the landscape, apocalyptic, trees smoldering like ghosts. Emergency lights pierced the haze, firefighters hacking through debris, their faces etched with soot. See their silhouettes, heroes born of ash. Paramedics rushed to survivors, oxygen masks pressed to scorched faces. Hear the hiss of those masks, a breath of salvation. Teresa, her arms raw, handed Delaney to medics, her strength fading but her spirit fierce. Feel her exhaustion, a warrior's price. Her dash cam, later recovered, became a legend. Its footage replayed on newsreels, showing her race through flames. Watch that tape, her courage aflame brighter than the fire. The fire's toll unfolded like a requiem. Of 60 trapped vehicles, 58 survived, many with burns and smoke-damaged lungs their lives owed to quick thinking. See their faces grateful yet haunted, survivors of a crucible. 3 perished, an elderly couple, their footsteps lost to flame. A convertible driver, his cries drowned by the blaze. Feel their absence, a scar on the highway's heart. Martin Delaney, with a fractured skull and third-degree burns, spent weeks in intensive care, later telling reporters, "Teresa gave me my life back. I'd be ash without her." Hear his gratitude, a bond forged in fire. Teresa's second-degree burns, searing her face, neck, and arms, demanded grafts, her recovery a gauntlet of pain. Touch those scars, her sacrifice etched in flesh. PTSD haunted her, smoke scent sparking panic, flames dancing in nightmares. Walk through those dreams, her bravery wrestling fear. Yet Mia's embrace anchored her, a mother's love stronger than trauma. Feel that hug, a fortress against despair. Teresa's ordeal reshaped the road. She joined the American Trucking Association, her voice unwavering at conferences, urging wildfire training. Hear her speak, each word a call to arms. Her dashcam footage, donated to the National Fire Protection Association, trained thousands. It frames a survival manual. See those trainees eyes wide learning from her inferno. California's new alert system, born from the fire's failures, linked fire models to highway closures, adopted by Oregon, Nevada, Washington, Idaho, and Arizona. Feel the ripple. Lives saved by her pain. Trucking firms equipped rigs with fire, masks, thermal blankets, and reinforced cabs. Touch those masks, shields against smoke. Drivers adopted Teresa's mantra, stay in, protect air, help others. Live that creed, a trucker's oath. The Cedar Pass Memorial, a bronze plaque at a viewpoint, lists the fallen. Teresa's quote, its soul. In our darkest moments, we are never alone. Stand there, the wind carrying horns, a tribute eternal. Truckers pass it daily, their CBs sharing her wisdom, her story a torch for rookies. Hear those voices, passing her light forward. Each summer, wildfires test the West, their fury growing with climate's wrath. Oregon's 2020 fires, Colorado's 2021 blazes, each echoed Cedar Pass, but Teresa's lessons saved countless souls. See those highways, scarred but standing, her legacy a shield. She returned to trucking after 9 months, shunning fire-prone. Roots, her words simple. The road's my home, but I drive for others now. Feel her purpose, a vow to the asphalt. The true horror of Cedar Pass lies not in its death toll, low thanks to Teresa's courage, but in the specter of a world where fires outrun warnings, where highways become pyres. Imagine that future, the flames closer each year. For truckers on I-5's fire-scarred corridor, Teresa's story is a beacon, her calm in the storm a guide. Stay in your rig, protect your air, help who you can. Live those words, a map through hell. Her silhouette, framed by flames, haunts and inspires, proof that one driver's heart can defy nature's fury. Close your eyes, feel the heat, and ask, could you rise as she did when the road turns to fire? The night was a shroud over Route 375, its curves slicing through Idaho's mountain heart, pines standing like silent judges under a starless sky. Marcus Delaney, a 42-year-old hazmat trucker, gripped the wheel of his rig, the dashboard's glow casting shadows across his weathered face. The air was sharp, autumn's chill seeping through the cab, but his focus was on the secure comms unit crackling to life. Transport 87, confirm readiness for Level 4 shipment. The dispatcher's voice cut through, clinical and cold. Delaney's jaw tightened, his pulse quickening at those words. Level 4, a cargo so lethal it could erase towns. A job he'd faced only twice in 8 years. Confirmed, he replied, his voice steady, masking the unease coiling in his gut. On October 12, 2016, Delaney was rolling north from Boise, bound for Missoula's DHMS facility, carrying a secret that could kill thousands with no escort, only a satellite's distant watch. The road felt familiar, but tonight it whispered danger, a prelude to a nightmare that would test every ounce of his resolve. Delaney was no stranger to hazardous materials. At Transcontinental Shipping, his spotless record, 8 years without, a single spill or citation made him the company's anchor for high-stakes runs. Chemicals, medical waste, compounds he'd rather forget. He'd hauled them all, his meticulous nature a shield against chaos. But Level 4 was a beast apart, demanding armed escorts, airtight protocols, and a mind that didn't flinch. Tonight's orders, relayed hours earlier, had jarred him. No escort, budget cuts, satellite tracking only. Step into that cab, feel the weight of a cargo you can't name, the road stretching into darkness. By dusk, he'd reached the Nordine Chemical Research Facility, a concrete fortress outside Boise, unmarked save for a Department of Energy code carved in steel. Guards, their rifles catching the floodlights, confiscated his phone, leading him to the loading dock. The shipping coordinator, a gaunt man with restless eyes, slid a digital tablet across the desk. "Level 4 containment," he said, his voice flat. "DHMS Missoula. Route 375, no construction. Patrols notified." Delaney scanned the manifest, his brow creasing. "No escort?" he asked, his tone edged with doubt. The coordinator shrugged, a gesture too light for the stakes. "Satellites got you. Secure comms units in your cab, right?" Delaney nodded, the device his lifeline through the mountain signal voids. The cargo was a lone containment cylinder, 4 feet tall, 2 feet wide, strapped to a custom pallet, a speck in the trailer's expanse. Sensed the chill, that small cylinder hiding a world's end. "What's inside?" Delaney pressed, knowing the answer. "Need to know," the man snapped, tapping the tablet. "Breach protocol. Evacuate 5 miles upwind. Containment kits. In your cab. Body bag for the cylinder, last resort. 5 miles. A death zone, airborne and unforgiving." By 10:30 p.m., the cylinder was loaded, the manifest signed, and Delaney was on Route 375, the night swallowing his rig whole. Route 375 was a labyrinth, its twists weaving through Idaho's wild core, where cell signals died and the world felt abandoned. Light snow was forecast after midnight, but Delaney's truck, outfitted with specialized tires and weight systems, scoffed at such threats. At 11:47 p.m., he checked in via the comms unit, his voice calm against the engine's hum. Checkpoint Alpha reached. Systems normal, cargo secure. Mile marker 47, Route 375 north. ETA to Bravo, 55 minutes. The response was instant, robotic. Acknowledged, transport 87. Satellite confirms. Snow may reach 4 inches by 2 a.m. Delaney dismissed it, his rig built for harsher storms. Follow that road. Its curves hypnotic, the cargo's presence a shadow in your mind. But at 12:23 a.m., in a barren stretch flanked by ridges, the dashboard ignited in red, warning lights flaring like wounds. The primary electrical system was failing, the alternator, powering the engine and the trailer's cooling unit, collapsing. The secondary system kicked in, but the dash flickered, its strain a warning. Delaney grabbed the comms unit, protocol his guide. Transport 87, electrical malfunction. Primary down, secondary weak. Request tech support and escort. Static, hissed, the backup system faltering. Transport 87 satellite detects anomalies. Tech 90 minutes out, patrol 45. Prioritize cargo integrity. Stationary protocol if needed. Stopping and locking the cargo was routine, but the cooling unit, vital for the cylinder, demanded power. Before Delaney could answer, the secondary system died, the engine choking to silence, the truck coasting in a blackened void. Emergency batteries barely alive. Enter that silence, the world still, the cargo waking behind you. A faint hissing broke the quiet, a soft menace from the trailer, unmistakable to any hazmat driver. A containment breach, the edge of catastrophe. Listen to that sound, a serpent's breath, your heart a drum in the dark. Delaney engaged the emergency brake, stopping on the shoulder, his flashlight cutting through the snow's gentle fall. The hissing swelled, a threat from the sealed compartment. Protocol forbade opening the doors, so he checked the external monitoring panel, its digital glow stark against the night. The readings were a gut punch. 57 degrees inside, climbing fast, far beyond the safe 35-40 degrees. An unidentified compound was seeping, trace amounts tainting the trailer's air. The cylinder was failing, its walls giving way. Sense the clocks. Merciless tick, 20 minutes to disaster, a town's lives in your grasp. Delaney had three options: repair the electrical system, use the emergency containment kit, or execute intentional isolation, moving the cargo far from civilization and abandoning it. With Pinterest, population 1,200, 32 miles downwind, he chose the kit, a desperate stand against the threat. The kit, stored behind his seat, held a hazmat suit and a chemically resistant containment bag. As he retrieved it, the comms unit sparked, its battery unyielding. Transport 87, satellite sees anomalies. Patrol ETA 38 minutes, hazmat team. 3 hours. Confirm. Delaney's voice was steel. Containment procedures active. Cooling failure. Breach in 15 minutes. Request airspace restriction. 5-mile evacuation. The reply was grim. Understood. You're our eyes now. Stand in that moment. The weight of that trust. The road a chasm at your back. Delaney donned the hazmat suit, its oxygen tank a faint hum, and mapped the wind's path. Northwest gusts would carry any leak to Pinterest, its homes quiet, unaware. Picture those streets, children dreaming, lives tethered to your choice. He unlocked the trailer doors, the hissing a roar in the silence, and swung them open, his flashlight catching the cylinder's sheen. Frost traced a hairline crack, vapor curling like a specter. See that crack? The cylinder alive, its secret slipping free. He unfolded the containment bag, a heavy resistant shroud built to trap leaks. The task was grueling, maneuvering the cylinder without touching the vapor, sealing it with a locking mechanism, the suit's weight a prison. 7 minutes passed, 7 minutes breathing air that might kill. The suit's sensors silent, but untrustworthy. Level 4 toxins often evaded detection. Feel the sweat, the suit's grip, the toxin's unseen fangs. With the cylinder sealed, Delaney locked the trailer and stumbled to the cab, his oxygen at 22 minutes. Intentional isolation called for more. He coaxed the truck's dying battery to steer onto a fire access road, momentum carrying it half a mile to a clearing, far from the highway. He locked every system, abandoned the rig, and hiked back, snow crunching underfoot, the night erasing his steps. Walk that path alone, the cargo a bomb behind you, your soul forever scarred. Highway patrol found Delaney at 1:17 a.m., trudging Route 375's shoulder, 3 miles from the truck. The hazmat team reached the rig at 3:45 a.m., thermal imaging showing 112 degrees inside. The containment bag held, averting a disaster linked to an experimental compound for conflict zones, its details locked away. Stand in that clearing, the truck a ghost, its cargo silent but deadly. Delaney endured 3 days of observation, no symptoms, but 5 years of monthly screenings haunted him. A shadow of exposure. The trauma, those 7 minutes in the trailer, breathing death's air, broke him. He quit hazmat, the hissing echoing in his dreams. Since his nights, that sound never fading, the road he'll never reclaim. His sacrifice triggered a congressional probe, exposing flaws in hazmat transport. New laws mandated escorts for level 4 cargoes, a legacy of his courage. Now a safety consultant, Delaney trains drivers. His story a lighthouse for those hauling cargoes unseen through places unknown. A plaque at Transcontinental's Boise depot honors him. For those who carry the unseen, the burden is ours. Drive Route 375 at midnight, the mountains watching, and bear Delaney's weight, the cargo you'll never shed. The snow doesn't fall gently. It buries, and on January 12, 2017, it sought to entomb. Curtis Hoffman, a 47-year-old trucker from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, gripped the wheel of his rig on Interstate 94, the North Dakota plains stretching into a white void. The air was brittle, laced with the scent of diesel and impending frost, the temperature plunging toward single digits. hauling agricultural equipment parts from Minneapolis to Bismarck, a route he'd driven countless times in his 23-year career. Curtis felt the road's familiar pulse. Feel the weight of his journey now, the steady hum of his engine, lulling you into a deceptive calm. But the sky held a secret, a storm brewing with Arctic fury, ready to test his humanity in ways no forecast could predict. Step into that cold now, where the wind itself becomes a predator. Curtis was no stranger to the Midwest's whims. Raised in a small Wisconsin town, he'd traded a factory job for the open road, his rig a canvas for his stoic resolve. See him, at 25, grinning behind his first wheel, the horizon his only boss. A father to 2 grown sons, Curtis kept their childhood drawings in his glove box, faded sketches of trucks under sunny skies. Feel the warmth of those drawings, their crayon lines, a tether to home. His routine was unyielding. Check his rig, log his miles, brace for weather. That morning, he'd left Minneapolis under a gray dawn, the forecast warning of 8 to 12 inches of snow. Tough but manageable for a veteran with a well-stocked rig. Drive with him now, the CB crackling faintly, the world a ribbon of asphalt, but the winter of 2016-2017, deceptively mild until mid-January, was about to unleash a beast. By 2:30 p.m. the storm stirred. Meteorologists had tracked an Arctic air mass colliding with Gulf moisture, predicting heavy snow, but underestimating its ferocity. Hear the wind's low moan, a warning rising from the plains. Curtis, crossing into North Dakota, felt gusts buffet, his truck snow shifting from lazy flakes to a blinding sheet. See the snow, swirling like a living shroud, erasing the horizon. His dash cam, a silent sentinel, captured his concern. Winds picking up fierce, might need to hunker down soon. Feel his unease, the road turning foe. At 3:17 p.m., the CB crackled with urgency. The North Dakota Department of Transportation was closing I-94 from Minnesota to Bismarck. Drivers were to exit at the next opportunity. Linwood, 12 miles ahead, offered shelter. Curtis calculated 15 minutes at reduced speed. Let that plan anchor you, a fragile thread of hope. But the storm, later called a Mazo-scale snowband, had other plans. By 3:26 p.m., visibility vanished, the highway a featureless void. Imagine the world erased, nothing but white pressing against your eyes. Curtis slowed to 20 miles an hour, guided by rumble strips, searching for Linwood's markers. Then, a flash of red brake lights pierced the snow, vanishing, then reappearing at an angle. See those lights? A heartbeat in the dark. A sedan spun out, blocked the lane, its Michigan plates barely visible. Hazard lights flickering. Curtis swerved left, his rig steady on the ice, his side camera catching a fleeting image. A child's face in the sedan's rear window, pale, desperate. Feel that face sear into your heart, a call no protocol can silence. Protocol demanded he continue, report the car, avoid risk. But that face, small, terrified, shattered rules. Hear his heart pound, humanity overriding training. Curtis stopped 200 feet ahead, positioning his rig as a windbreak, hazard lights blazing. Fighting winds later measured at 58 miles an hour. With a wind chill of -35, he trudged to the sedan, snowdrifts rising to his knees. Feel the cold bite, each step a battle. Inside were Rebecca Keller, 34, and her children, Emma, 7, and Jacob, 4, stranded for 40 minutes. Their car's fuel was nearly gone, the heater failing, snow encasing them. Rebecca had called 911, but help was hours away, overwhelmed by crashes. See their faces, frost on their lashes, hope fading. Curtis knew they wouldn't survive. They needed shelter now, he later testified. Feel his resolve, a man choosing life over rules. Carrying Jacob, Guiding Rebecca and Emma, Curtis battled back to his cab, the 200-foot trek taking 15 minutes. Walk with him, the wind a knife, the snow a weight. Inside, he cranked the heat, wrapping them in emergency blankets from his kit. Feel the warmth, fragile but vital. But their ordeal was just beginning. By 4 p.m., the storm turned lethal. Winds hitting 62 miles an hour, gusts near 70, hurricane force. Snow fell at 4 inches an hour, drifts burying vehicles. See the truck, a lone island in a white sea. Curtis's CB and phone faltered. A brief, highway patrol contact offering no hope. All units were tied up, rescue indeterminate. Hear that silence, heavier than the storm. The dashcam documented their fight. At 6:18 p.m., Curtis rationed food, granola bars, water from his supplies. Taste the grit of those bars shared in desperation. By 8:40 p.m., Jacob, hypothermic and confused, warmed, his eyes brightening. See his smile, a spark in the dark. The wee truck was buried to its windows, the temperature outside -12. Curtis ran the engine 30 minutes, off 15, checking the exhaust to prevent carbon monoxide's silent kill. Feel his vigilance, a guardian's burden. Between tasks, he told stories, tales of his sons, of summer drives, keeping the children calm. Rebecca later said, "His kindness stopped our panic." Hear those stories, a shield against fear. By dawn on January 13th, the storm eased, but danger lingered. Drifts encased the truck's lower half, the cab chilling despite Curtis's efforts. Feel the cold seeping relentless. All four huddled in layers, sharing body heat. At 7:42 a.m., a fleeting cell signal let Curtis text GPS coordinates to emergency services. The reply was grim. Plows were coming, but hours away. Let that weight crush you, hope fraying. With fuel dwindling, Curtis and Rebecca packed snow against the doors and windows, using its insulation like an igloo. See their hands, red and numb, building a fragile haven. This bought hours, Curtis managing fuel to keep the cab livable. At 2:15 p.m., heavy equipment rumbled through the wind. By 2:37 p.m., a snowplow, medics, and highway patrol reached them, stunned to find all four alive after 24 hours in one of the worst blizzards in decades. Hear the plow's roar, salvation's song. The official report noted 17 deaths across the region, most travelers unprepared. Rebecca and her children were anomalies, saved by Curtis's choice. See their survival, a miracle in white. Curtis's employer initially reprimanded him for breaking protocol, sparking outrage. Veterans, truckers, and citizens rallied, forcing the company to rescind it within a week, launching the Hoffman Winter Safety Initiative. Feel that justice, a community's roar. Curtis, changed, advocated for flexible emergency protocols, urging winter training. Hear his voice, steady, reshaping the road. The North Dakota legislature passed the Hoffman Act, shielding drivers who aid in crises. See that law, his legacy in ink. A plaque at Bismarck's Highway Patrol headquarters bears his quote, "In the worst conditions, the only resource is each other." Touch that plaque, its words a mantra. Rebecca, now a winter preparedness volunteer, testified, "Some heroes don't run to danger, they refuse to drive away." Curtis was that hero. Feel her words, a tribute eternal. For truckers on I-94's icy stretches, Curtis's story is a beacon. Stop when humanity calls, trust each other, live that lesson, a code for the cold. The blizzard's horror lies not in its toll, but in its reminder. Nature spares no one, but one driver's heart can tip the scales. Close your eyes, feel the snow, and ask, would you stop when the storm demands you drive on? The neon buzz of a gas station flickered against the pre-dawn sky, its light pooling on the cracked asphalt where Nathan Reed's 18-wheeler idled. On June 7, 2018, the 49-year-old trucker leaned against his rig, fueling up before tackling Colorado's Independence Pass, a route he'd mastered over 15 years. The air was crisp, the mountains looming like silent giants, but a grizzled driver at the next pump caught his eye. "Watch yourself up there," the man muttered, nodding toward the pass. "Heard of trucks breaking down lately? Weird stuff. Doesn't sit right." Reed nodded, brushing it off, but the words clung like frost. He climbed into his cab, the engine roaring to life, unaware that in hours, those words would save his life, and countless others, from a meticulously planned ambush on one of America's deadliest roads. What happens when the route you know like, your own pulse turns predator, and the only way out is seeing what others miss? Reed was a veteran of the road, his hands steady on the wheel, his eyes sharp for every twist of Independence Pass, a narrow ribbon connecting Silverton's mining depots to Denver's distribution hubs. Loaded with industrial equipment, he'd left the Silverton mining supply depot at 5:15 a.m., the early start a tactic to dodge tourist traffic clogging the pass by late morning. The forecast promised clear skies, light winds, and mid-60s warmth, perfect for the 12th down 95-foot summit's perilous curves. Step into that cab, feel the engine's hum, the road's promise of routine. By 7:30 a.m., Reed reached the pass's western approach, the switchbacks rising like a staircase to the clouds. As he rounded a bend, a commercial pickup caught his attention, parked at a maintenance pullout, hazard lights flashing. Two men dressed in what looked like Colorado Department of Transportation uniforms were setting traffic cones around a guardrail section. Maintenance was common in summer, so Reed slowed, giving them space, but something felt off, a detail he couldn't pin. Sensed the unease, that flicker of doubt, the scene too perfect. 10 minutes later, navigating Widow's Turn, a curve locals, named for its unforgiving edge, it hit him. The pickup lacked CDOT's mandatory logos and ID numbers. Reed, who knew real crews like his own rig's bolts, felt a chill. He reached for his CB radio to check with State Patrol, but before he could key the mic, his dashboard flared red, the engine warning light blazing. Power drained, the truck faltering, a mechanical failure too sudden to be chance. Reed wrestled the rig into a scenic overlook pullout, engaging the emergency brakes, his pulse racing. Popping the hood, he found the main fuel line sliced clean, then loosely reattached. A sabotage meant to fail minutes later, when he'd be on Shepherd's Cliff, a no-shoulder stretch with a 1,500-foot drop. Stand under that hood, the sun warm, the sabotage cold, your life nearly stolen. His dash cam, installed after a tourist's near miss 3 years prior, had recorded everything. Reviewing the footage, he saw the pickup's license plate and the two men, their faces shadowed by caps and sunglasses. No cell signal reached the pass, but his satellite comm system worked. He sent an emergency alert to his dispatcher. Suspicious. Vehicle. Possible sabotage. Mile marker 32. Independence Pass. The reply was swift. No CDOT maintenance today. State Patrol notified. Stay put. Don't engage. Reed locked the cab, his military training from decades ago kicking in. High ground, stay calm, wait. Moments later, a sedan slowed past. Its driver, a man in his 30s with sunglasses and a baseball cap, staring too long at the disabled rig. The car vanished around a bend, but Reed's instincts screamed trouble. Feel that stare, the predator's gaze, the pass no longer yours. 5 minutes later, the sedan returned, pulling into the overlook 50 feet away. Two men stepped out, the same ones from the pickup, no CDOT uniforms now. One hit a tire iron against his leg, their steps too casual, their eyes too sharp. "Hey, buddy, need help?" the taller man called, his voice smooth but his stance rigid. "Looks like engine trouble." Reed stayed silent, recording with his phone through the side mirror. He triggered the truck's air horn, a deafening blast echoing off the cliffs, startling the men. A second blast followed, their glances betraying alarm. They knew he saw through them. "Hear that horn, it scream a shield. The mountains your only allies." The men didn't retreat. They split, one circling to the passenger side, the other brandishing the tire iron openly. "Open the door, trucker," the taller one snarled, pretense gone. "We want the shipment. Cooperate. You walk away." Reed's training held firm. The cab's height was his fortress. Help was en route. Time was his weapon. He sounded the horn again, keeping them on edge, hoping to draw a passing motorist's notice. The situation turned deadly when the taller man drew a handgun, its barrel glinting. "Last chance," he shouted. "Open it, or we're breaking in." Reed had one final play, a trick from his secure transport days. Modern semis have pneumatic systems. By sequencing controls, he could release compressed air from the undercarriage, a blast to disorient. As the armed man neared the driver's door, Reed executed the sequence. A thunderous burst of air erupted, the brake system grinding, knocking the man back, his gun skittering across the gravel. Feel that blast, the air alive, your gamble paying off. In that chaos, a Colorado State Patrol cruiser rounded the curve, its lights dormant, but its presence a miracle. The officer, responding to an unrelated call up the pass, hadn't received Reed's alert but saw enough. Two men, one scrambling for a dropped object, confronting a semi. He activated his lights, his PA system barking, "Step away! Hands up!" The men bolted for their sedan, but the officer blocked their exit. Backup units arriving from the opposite direction. Stand in that cab, relief flooding, the pass reclaimed. The investigation unraveled a chilling web. The men, brothers Liam and Connor Markham, were tied to 7 other incidents across Colorado, Wyoming, and Utah, where trucks suffered mechanical failures in remote areas. 2 drivers had vanished, their rigs abandoned. A search of the Markhams' property revealed driver's licenses from the missing cargo manifests and maps marking ambush points on mountain highways. GPS data showed they'd tailed Reed from Silverton, targeting his high-value cargo. Had they succeeded, his truck would have lost control on Shepherd's Cliff, a runaway semi risking dozens of tourist lives in a mid-morning pileup. See that cliff? The drop endless, the lives you saved. The Markhams were part of a 3-year cargo theft ring, reselling industrial equipment on black markets. Federal arrests dismantled the network, a shadow on the mountain west. The Independence Pass incident reshaped trucking. Companies rolled out real-time tracking, emergency alerts, and secure mechanical checks, shunning roadside repairs. Escorts became standard for high-value loads, dash cams mandatory. Reed, commended by state police and the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance, still drives Colorado's mountains, now training drivers in security awareness. The pass has its dangers, grades, rocks, weather, he says. But it's the ones that look normal, the ones you don't see coming, that get you. Survival's in the details. Drive that pass, the cliffs watching, and feel Reed's lesson. Truckers pause at the overlook where Reed stood his ground, leaving coins on a weathered rock, a silent nod to a brother who saw what others missed. The road, beautiful and treacherous, holds its secrets, waiting for the next driver to notice what doesn't fit.